节目由换个姿势看电竞的超神电竞 APP 赞助播出，苹果用户快去 App Store 下载哦。
Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So there's been quite a bit of changes happening on the PvE when it comes to buffing and nerfing champions recently. But I wanted to specifically highlight 3 of the nerfs that happened so far, because I feel like these probably are the more interesting ones. So if you haven't guessed yet, the 3 nerfs we'll be talking about to the 3 champions are Fiora, Master Yi, and Lux. So right before we get into things, the question I want to ask you is, what champion do you think needs a nerf for the next patch? And if you end up enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button. But let's get right into the detail, and the first champion we'll start off with is going to be Lux. So just like the previous patch, Lux has been very dominant in the mid lane, and the main reason for that is because, well, she seems like she fits many roles quite well, whether it comes to harassing, catching someone off, dealing damage, or even providing defensive utility. She's still sitting at the #1 win rate and play rate for mid lane champions at Platinum and above in ranked, and it seems like Riot has finally taken notice and also taken a bit of action. And here are their proposed changes so far to Lux on the PvE server. They seem to be targeting her W, the shield, by not only decreasing the AP ratio on it, but also lowering the base value on the shield. But on the bright side, it doesn't look as bad as it actually is, because the shields now stack rather than simply refreshing. So if you throw out the W and then it comes back to you before your initial shield has expired, well, it'll just add on to whatever shield you have remaining from the initial cast. All in all, if Lux were to get all in by maybe an assassin champion, a jungler, or in a team fight, the shield will be overall shielding less damage. So it does seem like Riot finally has chosen how Lux is going to be played and what she's going to be excelling at. Because her damage is still the same, she still has the catch potential of the poke, it's just that the utility and the defensive stats, which were a little too strong on her, are just simply not as strong anymore. This will obviously make her laning phase a bit weaker, since again it is just simply much easier to all-in her and actually do damage to her HP bar and not just the shield. Something else they did to Lux, which is more of a quality of life change, is what they did to her W with the missile speed. So in this clip here, you can see the comparison between the PvE missile speed on her W and the current live server one. Apparently the idea here was to make it act like a boomerang when it goes out and comes back in. But what this does mean is the fact that in a team fight, it'll be a bit easier to actually land the shield on your allies. All in all, a pretty decent hit to Lux, because now her surviving, since she does have no escapes, but without having the massive shield, is going to make things a little bit more difficult. But moving on to the next champion that we'll be talking about that also got nerfed on the PvE is Master Yi. From what I understand, Master Yi, especially in lower elo, is extremely notorious for just how insanely strong he really is. If you were to ask me why Master Yi feels so powerful, well, the main thing is because he can build maybe 1 or 2 attack damage items with a little bit of attack speed, and right after that he can pretty much just go full tank, still deal an insane amount of damage, yet be very difficult to kill. And it seems like this is exactly what Riot is nerfing on the PvE. So far, the only changes they've done are to his E ability. Now at first it looks like it's a buff because the active flat damage has been actually increased, but taking a look at the second point, his active AD ratio on his E ability has been changed to 25% bonus AD, compared to the current live server going up to 20% total attack damage. So what does this really mean for Master Yi? Well, since his E ability only scales off of bonus attack damage and no longer total attack damage, this means in order to make this E ability do anything useful mid to late game, well, you are gonna have to actually get some attack damage items. You can't just rely on just a tiny little bit of attack damage and your base damage in order to scale up your E ability anymore. So essentially Riot is saying this: you cannot go Devourer followed by something like a Guinsoo's Rage Blade and then go more or less pure tank like a Sterax, maybe like a Deadman's. If you want to scale and actually do something mid to late game, you better start buying some real true attack damage items. So the question lies, I mean, maybe Warrior Enchant for the jungler Yis will be better now than Devourer. I'm not entirely sure, and obviously it'll take some time to understand that. However, on the flip side, if the game lasts for a very long time and Master Yi finally does opt to get real attack damage items and scales his E ability well, then this might mean that his damage output might be just as good, if not maybe even a little bit better. But on the bright side, if you are facing this Master Yi, at least now he will be somewhat vulnerable and squishy, and killing him if he oversteps or makes a mistake will be much simpler, as opposed to the current on-hit attack speed Master Yi, who's also probably the tankiest on the team. So overall, it seems like a decent nerf that's just forcing Master Yi to be played as he should have been from the start. And the final change we'll be talking about is Fiora. Now this is a very interesting champion because she recently did get nerfed, even though it wasn't necessarily the biggest thing in the world in my opinion. But even with that, Fiora is still finding ways to be among the best top laners in the game at the moment. So on top of the nerfs I'll be talking about that are happening to Fiora on the PvE in just a second, she's also getting indirectly nerfed thanks to the changes happening to the Titanic Hydra. Now it's nothing absolutely out of this world, but the attack damage is being lowered to 35 from 50. So 15 damage here and there on top of everything else, well, it does add up. So this is just something to keep in mind when I talk about the changes happening to Fiora, since Titanic Hydra is without question a core item on her and it's very strong on her as well. Alright, so what are the changes to Fiora? What have they nerfed? As you see in the text on the right, the changes are very similar in terms of concept as to what they did to Master Yi. The most simplistic way to put this is now you also have to be building more attack damage items, or at least raw attack damage items, in order to really be a threat. And you aren't going to be able to get away with just building a little bit of attack damage and then just going pure off-tank bruiser type builds, while still dealing probably the most damage on your team without question. The base damage on her passive has been reduced to 2% from 3. Now it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot, but I mean you are proccing this passive very often with Fiora, especially when you're all-inning with your ultimate. So this definitely adds up. And for the majority of the game, the bonus AD ratio on the passive has actually been increased again to make you want to buy those full damage items in order to really be a big threat. Her E now reduces your move speed by only 30% at all ranks, from the 40% it started at rank 1 all the way up to 60. This is clearly a pretty decent hit because Fiora very highly relied on this slow in order to position herself around the target to proc the passive marks. But even with all of this said and done, I still think the biggest issue, or the thing that really makes Fiora, well, Fiora, is the Q ability. With 40% or even maybe 45% CDR, if your Q is at rank 5 and you land it on an enemy, you are gonna get that thing back up in just a couple of seconds and you can dash again. That's personally what I find to be the most annoying thing about Fiora. But either way, those are the 3 nerfs that I wanted to talk with you guys about that are currently happening on the PvE to 3 champions that I feel like are very popular or maybe even infamous in the League of Legends scene. I'm sure these are the champions that people want to know what's happening with them if anything ever does happen with them. So if you did enjoy this video, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, share this with your friends, and I truly thank each and every one of you for watching. Here are also my favorite comments from the previous video's question: what do you think about the tank or bruiser Zed build? Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video. Peace.